Hey, Gator Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Respect Our Decision podcast, guys. The crew is whole this week, man. The hype man is back in the building. Wes, welcome back.
Appreciate it. Good to be back. Son had some baseball going on, so had to be out there. They won the championship, so I'm happy for him in that.
Heck yeah, man. That's what we were hoping for. And as always, guys, I'm Hirsch. With me, as always, CJ, the man McCann.
What's up, guys?
Yes, sir, guys. Hey, it's business as usual, man. We're gonna get back to basics. Official visits start this weekend for the summer. The NCAA, there's been a major ruling in college football. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. Lots going on, man. College football 25, information coming out wild and crazy. We might have to start up a Respect Our Decision Dynasty League, even though y'all have to have the same console because they announced no cross play between consoles. I don't know what they're doing to us. EA Sports, it's not always in the game, but if it's not in the game if they don't want to pay for it, basically is how it goes. But as always, guys, we're always in the game. Make sure you go out, download us wherever you get your podcasts from. If you're checking us out on YouTube, this is your first time stumbling across this channel, or maybe you've just been dragging your feet on it, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, guys. Drop a like on this video. Hey, man, let's get 200 likes on this video. We haven't hit 200 likes on a video yet, to my knowledge. You got thousands, a couple thousand people watching it, only getting 100 likes. I need y'all to smash that like button. Drop a comment down below on which official visitor this weekend y'all would like to land in this class. And as always, guys, make sure if you haven't already and you are able, go check out our friends at Florida Victorious. Use our code DECISION. Save 20% off of your first month. And I know some of y'all are probably asking, well, do we need Florida Victorious anymore? I mean, the NCAA just passed a ruling saying, that schools can now pay these kids. And I'm going to jump into this real quick because we're going to get this out of the way, and then we'll jump into the official visitors and what's going on at Florida this weekend. The ruling states schools can pay up to $22 million to the athletes, but that's got to be spread throughout all the programs. Now, as for a reference point, there are some out there that will tell you that Ohio State alone is paying their football team this upcoming season somewhere in the neck of the woods of $20 million. So, why do you still need Florida Victorious or a collective or any of those entities that, that have been up running and helping pay athletes up to this point? Well, because you want all your programs to be successful. I mean, I know there's some people out there that's like, hey, drop the whole $22 million on football, guys. Let's be great. Let's get back to greatness. $22 million roster. We'll beat everybody. And I get that. Hey, I'm not saying I'm all the way against it, but then, you can't complain at basketball season if the basketball team isn't great. You can't complain if Sully can't go out and get a couple of starting pitchers. And then, you got Mouse and the gang at track, and, all these funds have to go around. And obviously, there's quite a bit of, difference in what the football players are making, the DJ Lagway is making versus a relief pitcher for the baseball team. But I think what you're going to find is that, especially at the Power Five, the Floridas, the Bamas, all those, you're going to find that those funds get used up pretty quick just between football, baseball, and basketball. And you want to take care of these other athletes. So, guys, just a quick round table on this. CJ, you saw the ruling. What are your immediate thoughts about how it affects Florida and their pursuit of great athletes going forward?
I mean, it's going to be you really have to navigate this thing because you've got a lot of other sports. We call Florida the everything school because we're pretty good at pretty much all the sports. For better or for worse, some have down years and some are in slumps, but for the most part, Florida has been very competitive or at least competent in every sport that we field. So where does that go now? Because you're going to have the Title IX stuff that comes into play. Because of this. So you've got all these other sports that you're dealing with. Florida's got a lacrosse team, and they've got a golf team, and they've got track, and they've got tennis, and they've got swimming, and they've got girls basketball, they've got softball, they've got all these other things that aren't the big three. You've got your big three sports, which most of that money probably will go to. And I think every team that's really serious about you know, their sports programs, that's what they're going to end up doing anyway. I think every school is going to be able to agree on that. I think that's not negotiable. Now, how much of that gets divvied up? You look at basketball is important to Florida, but it's not going to be as important as basketball is to Indiana, or it's North Carolina or Kentucky. So you're going to see some discrepancies in there. And the same thing goes for the other schools. There's schools that are going to spend more money on baseball because they care more about baseball. Like you look at Mississippi schools, Mississippi State, they care a lot about their baseball program. Now, I think Arkansas is another one that you can look at like that. And now you've got John Calipari there. So how does that work with their basketball? So you're talking about every big name program wants to be competitive in all the big three major sports because it's where you make the most of your money. Um, I'm curious to see what they do. You're definitely going to need the Florida Victorious now to kind of really fill in the gaps at other places. And I don't know if they're going to use that to supplement football because people aren't really going to want to give to anything else but football. Because I mean, that's, I think that there's a good chance that we use this money to pick up the slack in the other sports because people are being able to choose where they want their funds to go, and most our fan base is going to choose football. So, in a perfect world, you'd like to be able to use the money allotted that you can use to the big three sports exclusively and let NIL and Florida Victorious cover the rest of it. But you're not going to have a lot of fans that are going to be very happy to give their money to support the lacrosse team. It's just not the way it is. For better or for worse, that's just how people think. They care about their football team. They care about the basketball team. Some, like me, care a lot about the baseball team, and they're not going to be as apt to want to give to lacrosse and swimming and golf. But you're going to have to divvy all that up somehow because of you have to keep everything pretty well equal. You have to keep the Title IX in mind, and it's just going to be difficult to navigate. You think in your mind, $22 million is a lot of money. It is, but you got to look at. I mean, I'm not. I don't feel like I'm breaking any news here, but you're pretty much to have a competent, good football team in NIL now, you've probably got to spend at least $10 million on the team. So that's almost half of your
Minimum.
money. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
almost half of the money gone. So now you're at where how much is basketball going to cost you? Basketball is probably what? Is it at least 6-7 million. So then you've knocked off another chunk. Now you've got about 5 million. You've got to figure out what to do with, and you can't because you're going to have more sports than millions to go around. You'd love to be able to say, well, every other program can get $1 million, and that's just not going to happen. It's it's really weird. Like I don't know. I understand there needs to be a cap. Like you can't just let schools go willy nilly. There has to be some leveling here. Uh, I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know if this fixes all of that, but there's just going to have to be a makeup from a lot of the slack with NIL because and that ain't going nowhere. Um, I'm like I said, I'm really not sure what this means for college football yet. I think we like to believe this is really good, and athletes are getting paid, and I mean I have no bones to pick with that. I'm all for these guys to get their money because they're the reason we watch anyway. So I'm glad that they're going to figure that out. I'm glad that maybe the schools now will shoulder a little bit more of this and aren't relying on crowdfunding to do a lot of this stuff. I think that's what we all kind of wanted. Maybe this makes it where students are getting closer to becoming employees of the school. How's that going to change things? I mean, you already got, I think, laws in Virginia where they're trying to get the student athletes named as employees of the school. So where is that going to leave us? There's just a lot of new stuff, and I think, like I said, we talk about this all the time with the last few topics we've talked about between the lawsuits and all that, this is just the beginning. We've busted the dam now. I mean, this is all just trickling down. Since NIL was created, we all knew that there was going to be more to follow, and I don't think we were just that sure of what that more was going to be. And now we're in a position where amateurism in college athletics is pretty much dead. So where we go from here, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure what happens to the money that doesn't get spent. I'm not sure if that goes back in a pocket of somebody's.
That's something I wanted to segue with before we get to Wes, because Wes, I know you have some opinions on this. It's up to $22 million. There's nobody saying your AD is going to come in and look. We've all got opinions on Scott Strickland, but what if Scott comes in, calls all his coaches together, and goes, "Look, guys, I ain't giving y'all $22 million." And I'm being very just kind of what if about this. I mean, if you want your teams to succeed, then obviously you're going to give them what you can. But what if Scott Strickland walks in and goes, "Look, we only got about $18 million to make this work this season, whatever. So let's figure it out." That's and there's going to be a lot of teams that have to do that. I'm not saying Florida's one, but I don't see the Vanderbilts of the world spending $22 million on their athletic programs across all programs. I just don't see it happening. Wes, I know you had some thoughts on this when the news dropped. What do you got to say?
First, I'll divulge what I asked you guys, privately when the news dropped, like, because I was at baseball and I was like, oh snap, like this happened. I didn't say oh snap, but you know what I said. I'm like, this happened. So I was like, do these college athletes have to get a union? Is there going to be a CBA? Like that's my mind immediately went there with this news. So that's those were my initial thoughts. And then as I sat back and got some information from you guys as far as and you talked about Scott Strickland, and when I first talked about when we talked about building a roster, and we always talked about Billy Napier and whoever he has his lieutenants being a CEO, being a GM basically in the NFL. Okay, I'm gonna divulge these funds to the running back position. I'm gonna divulge these funds to the offensive line, to the quarterback position, etc. Now he has money that he's not the CEO. Now this is Scott Strickland really being a GM, and it's not just a GM to, okay, I'm going to divulge money. I'm going to put a portion of money to football. I'm going to put the money to basketball because CJ started off, because that was going to be my point. We are a everything school, so it's not like CJ said. Okay, if you think about Duke, what do you think when you think about Duke? What do you think about? Basketball. When you think about Connecticut, what do you think about? Basketball. When you think about Vanderbilt, what do you think about? Baseball. Those schools have particular sports that they are fixated on. Alabama now is coming on the last couple of years with basketball, but you think about Alabama, you think about football. You think about Notre Dame, you think about football. So with these schools that are fixated on one sport, we don't have that privilege. I take honor and privilege in the fact that Florida, we have a top gymnast team. Our softball team is good. Our baseball team is good. Our basketball team is good. That's what we argue when we troll other schools. We like, yo, we do everything well. Y'all one sport specific. So how are we going to divulge these funds? And to me, that lays on the head of as her said is Scott Strickland. How's he going to divulge it? He has to. You hear this from any good or great business person. You hire people that are smarter than you so that you can learn. He has to hire some analytical person to come in. Hopefully, somebody that graduated from the University of Florida. We are the education school as well. That's on top of all the stuff. So there's somebody that's smart to say, hey, with the NIL, I think you should do this. With the funds of the 22 million, we shouldn't hurt, but SEC gets money. They just signed a new deal with ESPN, getting more money. So 22 million shouldn't be nothing, because the SEC splits their money evenly through all the schools. So that shouldn't be an issue. They just signed a deal for us to leave CBS, which we all hated because we love the music, we love all that about CBS. They just signed that deal with ESPN. There's not a lack of funds as far as football with that. That's money that's about to. I think was it this year or next year? Is it next year that ESPN deal kicks in, or CBS was
This year.
in this
This
year?
year,
So
this year.
that money is coming in now. So those are funds that are coming in. So the 22, if he does that, which we get angry with Scott Strickland sometimes, but if he doesn't, if he for all the
Some.
programs, yeah, if he can't say the 22 million, if he says 18 million here, nah, because the football team, as you guys said, at least that's 10 million. So because the other sports are needed, you have to you got to spend that cap. You got to hit the cap on the 22 mil and do what you're going to do with the NIL. And I'm not smart enough to say which should go which. That I leave that to hopefully the people or person or persons that he hired that come in and say, hey, this is how you should divulge the money because gymnastics is this, track and field, indoor, outdoor is this, the swim team is this, baseball is this, basketball is this. This is where we're winning at. And certain sports only need certain amount of players, but football it's 85 scholarships, right? So that's going to need the majority of the money. Basketball, you have 15 or maybe 18 players, but maybe 12 on scholarship. I can't recall. I'm just shooting numbers, so don't get mad at me in the comments. Say no, Wes, we it's only 13 for basketball scholarship. But you get what I'm saying. The gist of it is you have to have somebody to come in, just like these NFL teams are starting to do, just like in baseball with these analytical guys and say, hey, this is what you have, and this is how you're going to divulge the funds. Depends on it. And if Scott Strickland want to keep his job, he know that his seat is on fire, and it's by the fans because he's done some bad things. He has to. I'm gonna hit my cap. They're giving you 22 million to spend. You have to use that money. You have to do what you have to do to make. And football is we are everything in school, but most fans care about football. And if you're going to spend that money on these other sports, then the NIL should be just strictly football. Because I know if you get an NIL, it's not strictly football. That NIL can be spent on women's basketball, softball, baseball, all that. So he has to hire some people to come in that he has to consult with, and then he has to make the decisions like any GM in the NFL. I'm gonna correlate that always to the NFL. You have to have people that's in there with you before you, because he's a GM now, but he doesn't just have football as his sport. He has multiple sports that real diehard Florida Gator fans and alumni love, and you're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna divvy all that money out.
Yeah. Like I said, it's really going to boil down to at the end of the day whether Scott comes in and says, "Hey, y'all get all this 22 million, and this is how we're doing it." I don't want to be in that closed door meeting to figure out how all those decisions get made, because there's going to be some coaches that are unhappy. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. Some coaches are going to feel slighted. And our man Christopher Zinn posted a comment on Twitter this morning, and at first I laughed because Chris, love you, Chris. I know you're listening. Always has a lot of great jokes on Twitter. But one of the things he said this morning, and I think it's very serious thought, is get ready to see company sponsorships on your jerseys and on your fields now. And that's a very real thing. I mean, you want money to come in to pay these players with. Well, that's one of the ways you get money is through sponsorships. It's a story as old as time. As long as we don't have to slap a company's name on the stadium, I'm okay with it. I don't care. I just don't want to hear the Tampax Stadium at Florida Field or some crazy bullshit that they come up with for these stadiums.
I don't know, man. I'm already kind of bummed out about the big yellow Quick patch on the Braves uniforms. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if I
I'm
want to
with
see
you.
that. Our big Florida Dairy Farmers patch on the sleeve. I
Yeah.
guess.
Florida oranges. Yeah. I mean, these are kind of things that I don't think the average fan is considering, but they better start thinking about, because this kind of stuff is going to show up. And also, do you start seeing football players not get academic scholarships. You're like we talked about. You're a paid employee now. Hey, pay for schooling out of your wages. I mean, these are all possibilities, and or maybe a scholarship becomes an even more rare kind of incentive to sign with the school. I don't know how that's going to work in time. Obviously, right now in the foreseeable future, I don't foresee scholarships going away. But a few years down the road, when you get more definitive guidelines in place on all this, that might be one of the possibilities you see. Scholarships gone. Because these guys, like we said, paid employees, hey, pay for your own way, pay for your own room and board. Now you wanted to be a paid employee. Well, this is what comes with it. And it's going to be wild to watch it, unfold and try to get regulated in some way, shape, or form so that it's just not wild, wild west all the time out there. All right, enough about that. Let's talk recruiting, guys. We've strewn off the recruiting path for far too long now. It's time to get back to brass tacks. Recruiting, the lifeblood of your program, all that good stuff. And we got our first weekend of visitors, 14 official visitors this weekend. 2 already committed to the Gators, that being Jeremiah McLeod and Chad Gasper, both commits to the Gators. They will be part of the 14 visitors this week. Now, let's break down some of the other ones. We're going to start Antoine Hill, quarterback. We've talked about him quite a bit. Quarterback out of Houston County up in Georgia. I think we pretty much all agree at this point. This is a guy that I think they're still trying to see if he's got interest, but I think all parties kind of know where this one's going. Right now, most people think he's leaning towards Memphis. The kid wants to start. He wants to start early. He doesn't want to sit behind DJ Lagway. Those are his words. No one else's. No one else put that out there and was speaking for him. People in the know that have talked ad nauseum about it say he relayed this message to Billy Napier himself. But he's taking a visit. You never know what goes down. You never know. Maybe a change of heart takes place. I still think we're on the Tramel Jones train or bust going forward. We'll talk about that when his visit comes up a few weeks down the road. Next, Zaire Addison, and this might be the most important kid on the visit list this weekend. Offensive tackle from Tampa, number 206 overall in the composite, 6'5", 290. Another one of those kids we're battling it out with Florida State for. And you're going to see quite a few of those on this list. I'm not going to go over every kid that's visiting, but most of them are significant. And Zaire Addis, this is a kid that you want those top 200 offensive linemen. We've talked about it. Offensive tackle, kid out of Tampa. We've talked about the whole Tampa situation more than enough. So there's a kid that you absolutely would love to get in the door. The next guy on the list, Myron Charles, defensive lineman from Port Charlotte, Florida, 6'4", 295, number 126 overall rated recruit right now currently in the country. This is a big 3 battle. Most feel like Florida State's kind of in the lead for this one. So, like I said, this theme is going to be prevalent here as we go down some of these kids. Javion Hilson is currently committed to Florida State. He's a 6'3.5" edge player, 225. He is the number 30 overall player in the country currently. So, like I said, it's just over and over and over again. You're going to be battling out Florida State, and that's, Florida State has been successful the last few years, and this is what comes from that. Florida State has really got their leg up on a lot of these kids now. Christian Gass, excuse me, there is a linebacker out of Covington, Georgia, 6'2.5", 215, currently ranked 243 in the composite. Florida, Georgia, Auburn amongst his list of competitors there. People in Gainesville feel pretty good about this young man right now. I'm not saying a commitment is imminent. I don't believe it is. It's going to be a battle. You're going to have to keep fighting that one out. Joshua Moore, wide receiver from Pembroke Pines, Florida, number 204 overall in the composite, 6'3", 205-pound wide receiver. Would love to see us get a wide receiver of that caliber in this class, a 6'3" kind of kid. Jarquez Carter, defensive lineman out of Newberry. CJ talked about him this week on our Pod of the People podcast. Make sure y'all check that out. Number 375 overall in the composite. This is a kid that Gator coaches feel good about. I know Coach Chapman has really been all over this kid. But he is pretty adamant about taking a Notre Dame visit before making a commitment. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. Caleb Singleton, DB out of Fleming Island, Florida. This is a kid that's been on the radar for quite a minute now. He could commit. I don't know if he has the green light to commit, but if he does, that would be a guy that might be on watch this weekend. Another kid that's on watch for this weekend is tight end Tayshawn Gelsley out of Jacksonville. He's number 453 overall in the composite. Not super exciting, but 6'4", 210, tight end commitment that the Florida coaches are really, really high on, hopefully trying to get him in the fold as soon as possible. I know some predictions were put in by the On 3 crew earlier this week predicting him to commit to Florida. CJ, out of that list of names I ran down, anything special in particular stand out to you and guy that we just might is a must-have?
Other than the offensive lineman, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of good talent in there. You talked about the wide receiver. I think that you could definitely look at that position. The tight end out of Jacksonville, definitely needs some more tight end depth. AJ Hill is definitely a guy that I'd love to have, but I understand his mindset. In this day and age, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm surprised more kids aren't taking that route with the portal being available. You go to Memphis, you light it up there, and you can hit the portal right after you're done, and you can go to a bigger school that needs a starting quarterback. So like I said, I'm surprised that hasn't been taken advantage of more. Maybe you can still consider him. Maybe he could change his mind, but like I said, that's a kid that I've wanted for a long time, but just doesn't feel like it's meant to be. Which is fine because I think we have a good problem there. I think DJ Lagway being in the fold, if it's hurting us with other quarterbacks, I'm not really too mad about it because I understand the caliber player that we have with DJ Lagway. But Zaire Addison, or excuse me, um, oh man, what's the offensive tackle's name? I'm losing my mind. Uh, dang, I don't know
Zaire
why.
Addison. Yeah,
It
you're
is
right.
okay. Zaire Addison. I don't know why I was thinking that was a DB's name. But Zaire Addison's definitely a guy that you really want. Because we just talk about like how important it is to get high ranked offensive linemen in there. I think again though, not to really do too much hyping up of the offensive line, but I think that Florida has done a pretty good job as of late recruiting the offensive line position. I think we're in better shape now than we have been in a while. So maybe things are starting to kind of turn our way. It's that deadgum tackle position that seems to really elude us. We're so good at recruiting guards. They've done a great job at getting those guys in. But when you start talking about the tackles, those are higher profile guys. We all learned from watching The Blind Side how important the tackle is. They explain to you, so that sticks in my mind of how important it is to have a tackle when you talk about who's being paid the most. But yeah, I think that would be a huge win for the staff. We'll see how it all plays out. There's a lot of other things going on, a lot of other kids that we're really high on that are going to be coming later for other visits. So this is just preliminaries. We talk about being patient every year. It seems like there's always one really big recruiting weekend that you get a lot of commits at one time. They kind of hold them. They want them to commit as much in a group as they can. So I'm curious to see what comes out of this. I think we'll have more information, based on once these guys leave campus. I think we'll have a better grasp on where we stand post visit as we do right now. Because again, recruiting has been kind of the afterthought at the moment because of where we are as a program, and we haven't talked much about it. There hasn't been much talk about the recruits from really anybody online because of just everybody's so focused on everything else that's going on. So it'll be good to get back to some real recruiting and some real analysis of analysis of these guys, where they stand post recruit, post official visit, because I think that that's really what we need to try to get back to, is understanding that there's still work to be done. That's not we don't want to take the year off from recruiting, even even though we've kind of been laissez about it. That I think that we're going to really find out a little bit more about where we're at with these kids and get a better picture than we've had the last couple of weeks with all the other things going on.
Yeah, you mentioned the big visit weekend right now, just in case anybody hasn't heard us talk about this in the last two episodes we did. Right now, June 14th weekend is setting up to be that real big weekend that we try to have every summer, as far as the biggest names and the guys that we feel the best about adding to the class. So just keep that in mind when you look at this list of names. Wes, going over that list of names we just talked about, what sticks out the most to you?
The quarterback, not Hill. We know what that situation seems to be trending towards. I prefer. I don't say I prefer. I prefer Hill. If they being honest, but I just want a. If we look at next year coming in, I mean, DJ is going to be by himself. And I would love to have a quarterback that we can groom. I always talk about maybe getting a 3-star guy that's a program guy that loves the University of Florida. We just talked about how this money's going around and all that stuff. So it's going to be hard to get a guy nowadays with a guy right behind him, unless you have the pedigree of saying, hey, like a Lincoln Riley, say, that can put a quarterback in the, or Ryan Day maybe, that can put a quarterback in the draft every year in the top 10. So if you don't have that pedigree and you're not putting quarterbacks out like that, you need a guy that wants to be developed, loves the University of Florida, and you can develop. So I thought maybe Max Brown. I thought maybe the other guy that got in trouble. Those guys were guys that you would love to have on staff. I mean, in the locker room that you could develop, that love the university and that you could develop. So, other than that, you guys know where I'm gonna go. I want Jones. I want the offensive tackle. To me, CJ talked about how we can we getting these guards in, and those and then we did a good job. And to I've been talking about how my line, the offensive line, has been, and recruiting in that aspect. So I'm gonna give them credit where credit is due. And second, what CJ was saying, and they have done a good job of getting some guys in, but we still need and liking getting tackles in. And to me, I as elusive and as projected and phenomenal as we think DJ is going to be, all good quarterbacks. We saw it with Tebow. We saw it with Wolfer. We saw it with Grossman. They had good lines. They just didn't sit back there and throw the ball around. They had time to let the playmakers do what they wanted to do. And to me, that's the key. You have to build with from in out, especially in the SEC. It's like the NFL is the second best league in all of football. So you have to build in and out, and that starts in the trenches, especially in the SEC, where you have the best athletes in the world. So we need linemen. So I will, if I had a pick, it would be Jones at tackle. So
Addison.
excuse me, Addison Jones is the is the quarterback. But yeah, so
No,
that no, that's them. My bad. I
you got.
apologize. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. I want the tackle. I want the offensive lineman. You alluded to we battling Florida State and their success. I want to see Florida State this year with not Travis at quarterback and see how they turn out and see how they look. They're playing the ACC. Man, Their schedule is not going to be as hard as ours. No, I think nobody's schedule is hard as ours. So I want to see how if they follow on what we've been going through as far as playing the SEC schedule and see how that turns out for them. But yeah, I'm happy that Billy hired an army, as it was called, year one, and they got to keep recruiting because he has to say, "Hey, I'm gonna be here next year." And if his thought process is anything else, then I don't want him as a head coach. So yes, June has been usually been a hotbed as far as for us, as far as getting guys in and committing. That second week, which is Father's Day weekend, projects to be our big weekend, but we've gotten a lot of guys committed from the week of June, whether it's been that weekend or a couple of weeks later or a couple of months later. We've done a good job of getting guys committed that are visiting the month of June under Bill and Napier. We lost some like Waller and some other guys, but that has been a hotbed for him as far as doing a good job of getting guys in. He doesn't like doing during the season, which I'm not opposed to, because you want to focus on the game, you want to get that done, and you can't spend time with recruits that as you would like for some of these official visits. I know some guys are coming in unofficially, but we know how that goes. If it's a top guy, he's not really paying to come, even though it's unofficial. So I'm excited and glad that the staff is still putting in work and doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. Obviously, the offensive tackle to me is top of the list as far as what we really want to see from this weekend. I'm also very intrigued by the wide receiver. I don't know if he's a kid Florida is serious about taking or not, but Joshua Moore. And the reason I really would like to possibly see him added to the class is he's a 6'3" wide receiver. We already have Josiah Abdullah committed. He's 5'10". We feel great about Vernell Brown. He's 5'10". A couple other guys we're going after, and I haven't learned how to say his name yet, so y'all are going to have to bear with me. Donovan Alugabode, I believe is how you say his name, but I'm not 100% confident in that. He's at IMG, but that's a guy that's 6'1". So that would, and I know that a lot of people that cover Florida recruiting feel really good about the Gators' chances with him currently. But once again, where is that a little bit taller wide receiver? I'm not saying you got to fill a class with him. I'm not trying to do the Dan Mullen thing here and get 5 statues on the field at the same time. But I do like to have that one guy in your back pocket that can go, that's a little taller, can go up for the ball if need be. Possession guys, things like that. But not my offense to run, not my decision to make. So can't really say much about that. I know that they feel really good about the tight end, Gelsey. I'd like to see maybe a little higher, ranked guy, but I also know not to over preach that it's early. Some of these guys will go up in the rankings. But I think we're still kind of stuck in that. A lot of guys wanting to see what Billy does on the field this year, and you're going to kind of have to take what you can get right now. And who knows? And I'm not trying to put on the orange and blue glasses. I'm not trying to go there and say maybe Florida goes out and starts blowing, and exceeding expectations, and a bunch of kids start calling and saying, "Hey, we'd like to be in now, man. We know Billy's got a good thing going. I want to play with DJ Lagway, and I want to be part of this special thing about bringing Florida back to prominence." Yeah, sure, that could absolutely happen. But right now, you're a little bit away from that. You've still got to go out there on the field this year, win some football games, beat some guys you're probably not going to be favored to beat, and really generate some hype. Otherwise, you're going to be spinning your wheels with the same, problem that we've had for several years about just not having a class full of solid special talent. Now, this last year's class, obviously we had a lot of great talent in that class. And we lost a lot of great talent in that class too. So I've seen a lot of people saying that this year we're probably only going to sign about 20 kids or so. I heard that last year. Then we were going to sign 25. Then we were going to sign 27. And then it was back down to 20. That's one of those things you're just going to have to see how it plays it out. But maybe that's Billy's plan going forward, if he's, obviously still here, is to get a class of around 20 and then supplement the positions of need through the portal. Like maybe his philosophy has changed a little bit. That I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. I wouldn't expect anybody to absolutely commit. I would think if anybody does out of this weekend, it'll be Gelsey, the tight end. Somebody might get caught up in the moment. That's always a possibility, but I think they're really trying to wait till they get to the weekend of the 14th and go from there as far as, who are we trying to take first and fill these spots up in the class. But we shall see. Guys, that's going to do it for recruiting. CJ, real quick before we get out of here this week, talk a little bit about where the baseball team got seated and what they got to do.
Yeah, we made the tournament, which is, some people didn't think we were going to do that. Some people had us in the last four in and the first four out, and we were in neither category. We got a 3 seed in the Oklahoma State regional in Stillwater. We actually drew a pretty decent enough regional. I think that, if there's a tough talent on the Florida team to where you could see them maybe getting together and winning the regional. With Nebraska, we've got to play them first. Niagara is in the regional, and then of course Oklahoma State, who's a top 10 seed. They've had a pretty good season thus far, but again, you're getting Florida outside of its gauntlet that it's gone through. You took the team with the hardest schedule in the country. Now we're getting outside of that. Well, what is that going to mean? There's a good possibility that we could come in there and really, really show out and beat teams like Nebraska, Niagara, and even Oklahoma State. At this point, it's just win. I mean, it's baseball. You can get hot. You see LSU right now. LSU's been pretty timid most of the season. Now all of a sudden, I think they've got pretty good odds to win the whole thing. They're made of the tournament. LSU's been winning pretty consistently. They did really good in the SEC tournament. Their team's still loaded down with a lot of talent. So Florida is in a position now where they could do that. We win the series against Georgia to end the season, which is something that a lot of people didn't think we could do, me included. I didn't think that was going to happen. Georgia was playing great baseball. And like I said, Florida's got the talent. They've got the players. They've got, you got a guy like Jack Caglione on your team who can, definitely take a game over. Anything's possible. Do I think that we, run through the regional based on what we've seen this year? No. But the team is still talented. There's still really good baseball players left on this team. All it takes is getting hot at the right time. We saw an Oklahoma team come in and beat us in a regional. We saw Ole Miss win the championship that same season. Were not great teams. They played each other in the final. They were not great teams through the season, but they got in the tournament and they were able to turn it on. We see that. It happens. Teams get hot. And, Florida could still do it. Like I said, I'm not telling you to expect that, but I'm saying, don't just tune out just yet. Enjoy the last few moments we have with Jack Caglione being a Florida Gator, as he's going to go in. I think last time I saw him projected was to Colorado to go play for the Rockies, and he can hit a baseball 600 feet in their stadium with the thin air. So that's going to be really fun to see. But yeah, just enjoy it. Cheer you guys on. We've got the girls softball team. They're also in Stillwater, but they're playing for the Women's College World Series. They're also playing Oklahoma State. So, that's funny how that worked out. But so, you got a couple of good teams, a couple of good programs to really finish up these last big sports before we really turn our focus completely to football. So just, hey, let's finish out, the spring and the summer and hope the Gators can find a way to get to Omaha. Uh, we'll see. I mean, like I said, it's baseball. You can get hot at the right time. That's all it takes.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I mean, at least we made it. You can't win nothing if you don't make it to the regionals first, and we're there. So we take it one step at a time. And like you said a couple weeks ago, nobody thought we'd even be playing for this. So here's hoping pitching gets hot, man, and the bats can, like Jack and them can stay warm and maybe go on a little run here. At least make it exciting. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode, man. Next week we'll break down everything that happened for this week's recruiting site visits, and then talk about who's coming in next weekend. And God willing, we don't have any crazy breaking news this week in between that sets us all on our ear. You never know. Like we say, though, never a dull moment, and all that yada yada. CJ, what do you got for us before we get out of here?
Thank you guys so much for supporting us as creators. Check out our friends at Alma Mater. Father's Day is coming up real soon. Get your dad something nice. Use our link. Helps us out a ton. Check out Florida Victorious. Use our code there. Get yourself 20% off your first month if you can. Help out the Gator athletes in this new world of NIL and all this college being employees and all that jazz, and help us navigate that world, because it, unlike whether we like it or not, that's what we're living in. So we got to do what we got to do to stay competitive. So if you can give to your Gator athletes, help those guys out and girls. Give wherever you want to. You got football or basketball, baseball, softball, gymnastics, whatever you're interested in. You can divvy up your funds that way. And of course, check out the Twitter page, check out the Facebook. We're on the road to 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. So help us try to get there before the football season starts. We're not super, super far away, guys. We really appreciate you guys as much as we've grown just in the last couple of years that we've been doing this. But we're right on the edge of that, and that's our goal. We want to get to 4,000 subscribers before football season starts. And we're right there. We're about 350 away. So you guys could really help us out by doing that. Most of you, we got people that watch the videos every week that aren't subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, you watch the video every week. What are you doing? Go ahead and subscribe. You're going to watch us anyway. Why not get it notified when we upload? Leave a like. Like I said, Hirsch said, let's get the 200 likes up. Smash the like button. That helps us out. Helps out the algorithm. So more people can watch our videos that might not know about us, and get us kind of more of a rotation with YouTube's. However they concoct that helps us out a bunch. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Wes, take us home, man. We missed you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for following us. Like CJ said, there's nothing to hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. Drop us a comment on our podcast. We like to take what you guys say to make the podcast better. So whether it's something that you didn't like or you disagree with, please make that comment down below. We read those. When we try to be better for you guys, to give you guys the content that you like. And as always, support our Gators, as CJ talked about the baseball team and the softball team. The girls are looking good, so they have a chance to win it all. So support them as well. And as always, go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators, baby. See y'all next week. Make sure to watch Pot of the People this weekend. Thank you.